Don't touch him. Lena's voice ripped through the room like glass shattering. Before Margaret could react, she felt a hard shove to her shoulder. Her knees buckled, the vase slipped from her hands, and flowers scattered across the hardwood floor, water pooling beneath her trembling palms. "You're filthy," Lena hissed, clutching baby Oliver tighter. For a moment, the world went silent. Even the baby stopped crying. Margaret stared at her hands, these same hands that once bathed her son, cooked his meals, built a home brick by brick. Now they were shaking on the cold floor, accused of being unworthy to touch her own grandchild. "Margaret!" Walter's voice cut through the silence. He rushed in, kneeling beside her, helping her to her feet. His eyes flicked to Lena, burning with disbelief. "What did you just say to my wife?" "She was making noise," Lena snapped. "The baby needs rest. I asked her not to come near him. It's unsanitary, she doesn't know how fragile newborns are." Walter's jaw tightened. "Unsanitary?" Daniel appeared at the doorway, rubbing the back of his neck, his expression uneasy. "Dad, Mom, please. Lena's just being protective. New moms are." "Enough," Walter said quietly. "We need to talk." Lena straightened, feigning calm. "Actually, we were thinking it might be best if Margaret stays in her room when Oliver's in the main areas. You know, just to keep things hygienic." The words hit Margaret harder than the fall. Her own house. Her own family. Banished like an unwanted guest. That night, Margaret barely slept. Walter lay beside her, his breathing shallow. When dawn came, he turned to her. "When was the last time you felt comfortable in this house?" She stared at the ceiling. "Before they moved in." Walter nodded once. "Then that ends today." Downstairs, his voice carried through the walls, low, measured, but edged with steel. Daniel's responses were muffled, defensive. Margaret didn't want to listen, but she couldn't help it. It was years of quiet submission finally breaking. Later, while trying to calm her racing thoughts, she began tidying their room and found a stack of envelopes tucked beneath old receipts. Electric bills. Gas bills. Water bills. All in Lena Carter's name, with their address. Her stomach dropped. Beneath them, a mail forwarding form, official and recent, redirecting all correspondence to resident Lena Carter. "Walter," she whispered, showing him the papers when he returned. His face went pale. "How long have you not seen the utility bills?" "I thought you were paying them," she said softly. He exhaled sharply. "She's been transferring everything to her name." Before he could say more, Lena appeared at the door, baby Oliver nestled in her arms. Her smile was sugar-sweet. "Is everything okay? You both look upset." Walter held up the papers. "Why are our bills in your name?" Lena blinked, then laughed lightly. "Oh, that. There was some mix-up months ago. I just switched them to make sure nothing got shut off. It's temporary." "For 6 months?" Walter asked flatly. She shrugged. "Time flies. I'll fix it tomorrow if it bothers you." "And the mail forwarding?" Now her smile wavered. "Mail forwarding? That must be a mistake." Walter's voice hardened. "A mistake signed in your handwriting?" Lena's tone shifted, the sweetness evaporating. "I was trying to keep things organized. You're retired, it's easy to miss payments. I was just helping." Margaret spoke then, quiet but steady. "Helping doesn't mean taking what isn't yours." For the first time, Lena faltered. Her lips pressed into a thin line. Walter turned to Daniel. "You knew about this?" Daniel took the papers, reading silently. "Lena, why?" "I told you, it's nothing," she snapped. "Your parents are overreacting." We live here too, why shouldn't things be under my name? Because it's not your house, Walter said calmly. It's ours. Lena's voice cracked. So what, you're throwing us out? With a newborn? If that's what it takes to protect our home, yes. Daniel's eyes darted between them. Dad. Walter didn't waver. You've lived here 8 years, son. It's time you build your own home. Lena's mask finally crumbled. You'll regret this, she whispered, her tone sharp and trembling. No, Margaret said, standing beside Walter for the first time in years with her shoulders straight. We've regretted staying silent. Lena stormed off, the baby crying in her arms. Daniel stood frozen, torn between guilt and realization. That night, as boxes piled near the door, Margaret watched Walter on the porch, the evening light casting long shadows across their yard. He looked older, but stronger somehow. She tried to erase us, Margaret murmured, joining him. Walter took her hand. Let her try. We built this life. It's ours to keep. Inside, the house was quiet again, finally theirs. But in that silence, something new grew between them, not just peace, but the fierce, steady pulse of dignity reclaimed. I've taken care of my own life just fine since before you were even born, Margaret said, her voice steadier than it had been in years. Lena's expression shifted instantly. The polished calm she always wore cracked, revealing something dark beneath. Since before I was born, she repeated with a sharp laugh. Then maybe that's the problem. You're stuck in the past. Someone needed to bring order here, someone needed to take control because nothing was getting done right. Walter's eyes narrowed. So, you decided to take control of our house. I decided to step up, Lena snapped. To handle the things no one else was handling. I live here. I contribute. I run this household every single day while you two sit back and pretend everything's fine. This is not your home, Walter said, his tone flat but dangerous. It's been my home for 8 years, she shouted. I've cleaned every room, managed every account, kept this entire place running. I know this house better than you do. Margaret felt her hands tremble but forced herself to speak. We built this house with our hands. You've lived here with our permission. That doesn't make it yours. Daniel stepped closer, his voice low but tense. Lena, what were you planning to do with the bills in your name? Lena blinked at him as if he'd asked something absurd. Keep the house running. What else? Someone has to be responsible for the boring stuff, utilities, services, maintenance. But why did you have to do it? Daniel pressed. Because I'm the one here all day, she said sharply. I'm the one who notices when things break, when payments are late, when something needs fixing. I have the time. I handle things efficiently. You should be thanking me. You could have asked us to handle our own bills, Margaret said quietly. Lena's smile turned brittle. I could have, but why would I when I was already doing it better? Walter stepped forward. Because it's our house. That was when Lena's patience finally broke. Your house that you can't afford to maintain without us. Your house that was falling apart before we moved in. Your house that Daniel and I have practically kept alive with our money and effort. Subsidized. Daniel's voice cracked. Yes, subsidized, she shouted. Do you think we were living here for free? I've been managing your mess for years. That's value. That's worth something. Not ownership, Margaret said firmly. Lena's lips twisted. Isn't it? At what point does all my work, 8 years of my life, count for something? At what point do I earn a stake in this place? Margaret felt the chill spread through her chest. A stake? You think you own part of this house? Lena didn't even hesitate. I believe I've earned it, yes. I've put more effort into maintaining this property than either of you have in years. Daniel's face fell as he stared at her. Lena, this is insane. You can't just claim someone else's house because you live here. Why not? She shot back. There are laws. Tenant rights. Common law claims. If someone contributes and manages a property for years, it's not that simple to take it away from them. You're not married to this house, Margaret said, her voice trembling. And you're not a tenant. You're a guest who's long overstayed. I'm family, Lena said through gritted teeth. I've been holding this family together while you two coast on property rights you don't even understand anymore. Margaret's mouth opened, but no sound came out. The audacity of it, the rewriting of reality, was stunning. Lena took their silence as agreement. Look, she said, lowering her voice to something falsely reasonable. I'm not trying to take anything. But the truth is, this household runs because I make it run. I've improved it, managed it, and made it better. That means something. Daniel's face hardened. Our family, or your family? Lena looked at Walter and Margaret with something icy behind her smile. Of course, I mean all of us, including you too. You're an important part of this home. Walter's voice was low. An important part. In our own home. Yes, she said simply. It's not your family home, Daniel snapped. It's theirs. They let us live here out of kindness, not obligation. At some point, kindness becomes partnership, Lena said coldly. Not without discussion. Not without consent, Walter replied. Consent? She barked out a laugh. You've been consenting for 8 years by letting me handle everything. You didn't want to deal with bills, cleaning, repairs, nothing. You were happy to let me do the hard parts while you played house. Margaret felt the sting of truth buried inside the insult. Over the years, Lena had taken over slowly, first little things, then bigger ones, until they barely noticed how much control she had. That doesn't make it yours, Walter said. It gives me a say, she shot back. Then have your say somewhere else, Daniel said. His voice was calm but firm. Lena turned on him, her anger blazing. And with what money, Daniel? With what job? You've been out of work for months. I gave up my career to raise Oliver and manage this place. I sacrificed for this family. You think we can just start over? That was supposed to be temporary, he said. You promised. We were supposed to get back on our feet. I didn't take over, Lena said, her voice cracking. I stepped in because no one else did. Oliver's cries rose between them. The tension in the room felt suffocating. Maybe, Margaret said softly, the baby should be somewhere quieter. He's fine, Lena said quickly. He's just upset because you're all acting insane. Because his family is being torn apart by selfish people who don't appreciate what they have. Walter straightened, his tone like steel. Selfish? For wanting to keep the home we built. Yes, she snapped. You have space you don't even use. You have more than you need. And you're trying to take stability away from your own grandchild. The argument spiraled into uneasy silence. In that silence, Margaret finally understood, Lena didn't just want security, she wanted control. And she believed she deserved it. Days passed in cold quiet. Lena stayed in the main bedroom with Oliver, the door always closed. Daniel looked hollow, his faith in his wife visibly crumbling. Walter kept leaving the house, saying little, making quiet calls. One afternoon, while sorting through the filing cabinet, Margaret found him rifling through papers. What are you looking for? Our insurance policies, he said. I need to make sure everything's still in our names. They searched together, and that's when Margaret found it. A deed transfer form. Blank, but with their property details typed in, and notes scribbled in Lena's handwriting about market value and taxes. Walter, she whispered, her voice shaking. She's researching how to take the house. Walter studied the document. Did anyone come by recently? Anyone Lena let in? Margaret thought hard. There was a man here last week. Lena said he was from the city assessor's office. I didn't see his credentials. Walter made a few calls, and when he hung up, his expression was grim. The city never sent anyone. Whoever that was, Lena invited him. Before Margaret could respond, Daniel came in holding Oliver. His face was pale. Walter handed him the form. Daniel read in silence, then said softly, "Last week, Lena was asking me questions about inheritance laws, about property transfers, about what happens when parents get older." "What kind of questions?" Walter asked. "She wanted to know if living somewhere long enough can make you a legal owner. If someone can claim rights over a house when the owners are too old to manage it." Margaret felt a chill spread through her. She was planning this. Daniel looked devastated. "I told her she was overthinking, that it was ridiculous." Walter handed him a folder. "Son, she's been transferring everything, utilities, mail, property files, into her name. Someone posing as an official came to our home. You tell me, what does that look like?" Daniel's face went ashen. "Oh my God. She really is trying to take your house." Walter's voice was quiet but heavy. "Evan, did you know?" Daniel looked up sharply. "No. I swear I didn't. I can't believe she'd." That night, raised voices echoed through the house. Margaret sat on the edge of her bed, listening to Daniel confront Lena, her knitting untouched in her lap. Walter entered later, exhausted but resolved. "I met with a lawyer," he said. "He says Lena's been building a case to claim tenant rights or even adverse possession." Margaret's eyes widened. "Can she do that?" "It's difficult, but possible. The lawyer said because she's lived here so long, handled the bills, and has everything in her name, she could claim partial rights as a tenant. It'll take legal action to undo it." Margaret's voice broke. "Evicting our own son's family?" Walter nodded grimly. "We don't have a choice. We'll issue notices, reclaim the utilities, and if they refuse, we'll take it to court." Later that night, Daniel returned, his face pale. "She admitted everything," he said. "She said she was doing it to protect our family's future. That when you're gone, she wanted to make sure the house stayed with people who deserve it." "Deserve it?" Margaret whispered. Walter met her eyes. "She means herself." Margaret's voice trembled. "She's not protecting the family, Daniel. She's trying to steal it." Daniel swallowed hard. "I know. And I'll make sure she never succeeds." For the first time in years, Margaret believed him. The twisted logic left me breathless. How could someone twist betrayal into an act of family protection? "And what did you tell her?" Walter asked Daniel quietly, though his jaw was tight. "I told her what she was doing was theft," Daniel said. "Fraud, deception, call it what you want. I told her if she didn't fix everything immediately, I'd support you in pressing charges." "And her response?" Walter pressed. Daniel's voice faltered for a moment. "She told me that if I sided with you, she'd make sure I never saw my son again." The words landed like a blow. That threat changed everything. This was no longer just about property, it was about control, manipulation, and a woman willing to use her own child as leverage. "Daniel," I said softly, taking his hand. "What do you want to do?" He looked at me, eyes full of exhaustion and shame, but also something stronger. "I want to stop her. Whatever it takes. Even if it means ending my marriage. I won't let her steal from you. And I won't let her use Oliver as a weapon." The next morning, Walter called our attorney. The time for gentle talks and family mediation was over. Lena had made her choice, and now we would make ours. That Tuesday morning, a sheriff's deputy arrived with an official envelope. From our front window, Walter and I watched as he walked up the porch steps, his uniform crisp, his expression unreadable. I squeezed Walter's hand. "Once he knocks," I whispered, "there's no going back." Lena opened the door with Oliver in her arms. When she saw the deputy, confusion flickered first, then realization, then pure rage. She slammed the door hard enough to rattle the glass, and the baby began to cry. The papers were clear. She had 7 days to return all utilities and mail to our names, and 30 days to leave our home. If she refused, we would proceed with formal eviction and the district attorney's office would move forward with charges for identity theft, mail fraud, and attempted property fraud. An hour later, Lena stormed into the living room, face flushed, papers clutched in her hand. "You can't do this to me," she screamed. "I have rights. I've lived here for 8 years. Walter's voice was calm. "You have the right to leave voluntarily. That's all." She turned to Daniel, eyes desperate. "Tell your father he's making a mistake. Tell him what this will do to our family." Daniel stayed still. "Lena, what you did was illegal. Dad's being merciful, even giving you a chance to fix it." "Fix what?" she spat. "I did nothing wrong. You forged names. You rerouted mail. You researched transferring property that isn't yours," Daniel said. "Those are crimes." "I was trying to help this family," she shot back. "By stealing from my parents. By taking responsibility when no one else would." Walter's tone turned iron. "You have 7 days to undo everything, Lena. 30 days to move out. That's final. And if I don't," she demanded, "then the court will handle it. And the criminal charges will stand." Her eyes narrowed to slits. "You'd really destroy your son's marriage over some paperwork?" "I'd protect my home and my wife," Walter said, unshaken. "And yes, if that destroys a marriage built on deceit, so be it." She turned on Daniel like a cornered animal. "You can't let them do this. They're trying to take everything from us." Daniel's voice cracked slightly. "No, Lena. You're the one who took everything from us. I did it for us." "No. You did it for you. And now our son's going to grow up knowing his mother tried to steal from his grandparents." Something in her broke. She sank onto the sofa, clutching Oliver. "I just wanted security," she whispered. "I wanted to make sure we had a home." "You already had one," Daniel said gently. "My parents gave it to us. All you had to do was be grateful." "What happens when they're gone?" she asked bitterly. "When this house gets sold and we have nowhere to go. Then we build something of our own," Daniel said. "Like adults. We don't steal it." Lena's eyes darted between us, searching for some last advantage. Then her expression hardened. "Fine. You want me gone. I'll go. But I'm taking Oliver, and you'll never see him again." Daniel's face went pale. "Don't do this." "What?" "Protect my child from people who'd throw his family out." "This isn't about money, Lena," he said. "It's always about money," she screamed. "About this house, these bills, everything." That's when Daniel finally stood tall, shoulders squared, voice steady. "Actually, you won't be taking him," he said quietly. "I'm filing for divorce. And for full custody." The room went still. "You can't," she whispered. "I can," Daniel said. "And I will." A mother who lies, steals, and manipulates her own child's family isn't fit for unsupervised custody. "Daniel, please," she begged. "Don't take my baby from me." "I'm not taking him," he said softly. I'm protecting him. In the days that followed, everything moved fast. Lena transferred the utilities back, cancelled the mail forwarding, and packed her things. She moved into a small apartment across town. But the criminal charges went forward. Our lawyer insisted it was the only way to make sure she couldn't try the same stunt elsewhere. The divorce was finalized within months. The judge, after hearing the evidence, awarded Daniel full custody of Oliver. Lena would have supervised visitation twice a month. When the judge read her sentence, 2 years of probation, community service, and restitution for legal costs, Lena just nodded, her face blank, her fight finally gone. For the first time in years, our house felt like ours again. Daniel stayed with us while he saved for a new home, but everything was different now. He helped with bills, he cleaned, he laughed again. Most importantly, he respected us, not out of obligation, but from understanding. 6 months later, I stood in the garden tending my roses while watching Daniel push Oliver on the swing set Walter had built. The baby's laughter filled the yard, and I realized how long it had been since I'd heard that kind of sound here, pure joy. I could sing again while cooking. I could rearrange the cabinets however I wanted. I could speak freely at the dinner table without being corrected or dismissed. These small things, things that should always have been mine, now felt sacred. One warm evening, Daniel joined us on the porch as the sun went down. "Mom, Dad," he said, "I need to apologize." "For what?" I asked. "For not seeing what she was doing. For letting it go on so long. For not protecting you." I touched his arm. "You protected us when it mattered most," I said. "That's what counts." He nodded, eyes glassy. "It shouldn't have taken so long." "Maybe not," Walter said, "but you got there. That's what matters." Oliver came running over with a dandelion in his hand. "Grandma, look. For you." I knelt and took it gently. "Thank you, sweetheart," I said. That tiny flower meant more than gold. Later that night, I asked Walter quietly, "Do you think she really believed she could take our house?" "She did," he said. "That's what scared me most. She truly thought she deserved it." I sighed. People can justify anything when they start believing they're owed. Walter nodded. "If she'd just been grateful, respectful, we would have helped them forever." He was right. All she ever had to do was ask. 3 years passed. Daniel bought a house just 4 blocks away. Oliver rides his bike to visit almost every afternoon. Lena remarried a man with his own home. Perhaps she finally found her peace, or at least a new project to control. She still sees Oliver twice a month, and from what Daniel says, she seems calmer now. Maybe losing everything taught her something. Walter and I updated our wills last year, leaving the house to Daniel and a trust for Oliver's education. The very house Lena tried to take will stay in the family, but passed down through love, not deceit. Sometimes, late at night, I think about what might have happened if Walter hadn't found those papers. If we'd kept ignoring the little red flags. We could have been that elderly couple you read about, tricked out of their own home by someone they trusted. But we weren't. Because Walter saw the truth. Because we acted. Because we said, "This ends now." Now, at 76, my life is simple and good. I sing while I cook. I tend to my garden. I play with my grandson in the same yard where his father once played. I laugh without fear. My house is peaceful again. This morning, as I made breakfast for Daniel and Oliver after their sleepover, the sunlight spilled through the window, warm and golden. "Good morning, Grandma." Oliver chirped, wrapping his little arms around me. "Good morning, sweetheart," I said, kissing his head. Walter smiled from across the table, and I felt a quiet happiness settle in my chest. As they were leaving, Oliver turned at the door. "Grandma, can I come after school and make cookies?" Of course, I said, smiling. This is your house too. And it was true, not because he was entitled to it, but because it was shared freely, with love and respect. That's what makes a home. Later, as I washed the dishes, I thought about everything we'd survived. Silence, I realized, isn't peace, it's just the absence of courage. Real peace comes when you speak up, draw the line, and reclaim your space. Walter came up behind me, wrapping his arms around my shoulders. What's on your mind? Everything, I said. How close we came to losing all this. But we didn't, he said softly. No, we didn't, I smiled. Thanks to you. Thanks to us, he corrected. You were brave too. I thought of the day I testified in court, my voice clear and strong after years of being silenced. I had told the judge how I'd been slowly erased in my own home, and how I refused to let that happen again. That was the day I reclaimed not just our house, but myself. Last month, I received an envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside was a simple card with 2 words, I'm sorry. And a small house key. I knew whose handwriting it was. I didn't tell anyone. That quiet apology was enough. Not forgiveness, but peace. Now, when Oliver comes over and we bake cookies together, when the scent of cinnamon fills the air and laughter echoes through the kitchen, I know what real inheritance means. Not property, not wealth, but love, memory, and respect. That's what stays. That's what builds a legacy. My name is Margaret. I'm 76 years old, and this is my home. My voice matters here. My presence is honored. And no one will ever take that from me again.